So we have Economics Paper 2, October 2024. Go to question 1. It said, which one of the following represents net investment?
Yeah.
So when you talk about net investment is what?
It's the gross investment minus the capital
Depreciation.
depreciation.
So it means gross investment minus depreciation over time. Okay, good. We got that. So question 1 is B. Question 2. And what is investment itself?
It's, um, it's when firms deposit money into businesses or like spend more money on businesses.
No, spend money on what? Not businesses. Investment means what? Spending on what?
Spending on goods and services.
No. Investment means you are spending on capital goods.
Yeah, okay.
You're spending on equipment, machinery. That's why there's depreciation.
Yeah.
So when there's investment, it simply means the firm is spending on capital goods. So over time, that's the spending on capital goods without depreciation calculated is gross investment. But as soon as you calculate, you minus depreciation from investment, then becomes net. When you originally spend, your purchase on equipment is gross investment. But as soon as it starts minusing or you start deducting depreciation from it, because equipment, machinery, they will wear and tear, there's going to be depreciation. So as soon as you start taking the value of depreciation over from it, then that's your net investment. I think it's clear here.
Yeah, but like, why do they subtract it from the capital depreciation?
Capital depreciation simply means equipment depreciation. Investment is capital. Investment is, we said investment is the expenditure on equipment or expenditure on capital, right? So equipment, machine, they wear over time. When you buy a car, the car is not going to be the same. My car is not going to be the same like 2 years I bought it ago. So every now and then I use it.
Yeah.
So the value drops. Deducting the value that has dropped based on the usage, that is what depreciation is about. That's why they said depreciation is the wear and tear of assets. So over time, assets will depreciate.
Yeah.
So when they depreciate, you take the value of you take that value away from the asset itself. Then that is your net investment.
Okay.
I think it's clear now.
Yeah.
So question 1 is B. Question 2. In Chad, unemployment is higher in the winter months than in the summer months. This is because the demand for agricultural labor is lower in the winter months. Which one of the following best describes the cause of this unemployment in Chad? Seasonal unemployment. Okay, yes, seasonal. I got that. So what is frictional unemployment?
Frictional employment is when it's the unemployment when people move between jobs.
Yeah, when people move in between jobs, that's frictional. Another name for frictional is what?
I don't know.
Temporary unemployment.
Yeah, right.
Another name for frictional is what?
Temporary.
Unemployment. So real wage inflexibility, that's talking about wage that has been adjusted for inflation, but doesn't have anything to do with unemployment here. Seasonal, that's the answer. And for structural, what is structural unemployment?
It's when there is a mismatch between the skills of workers.
Well, I think yes, that's cool. But mostly when you talk about structural, it simply means there's decline in one sector of the economy. So that would bring about mismatch. So, okay, people in engineering sector, or let's say, let's talk about, for example, the educational sector. The educational sector in Libya is going down, just an example.
Yeah, okay.
And the mechanical sector or the automobile sector is growing. So it means teachers will have lost their jobs, yes or no?
Yes.
So they now start thinking to become an automobile engineer out there. So it's a mismatch. But mostly we have structural unemployment if there's decline in certain sector within the economy. I think it's clear.
Yeah.
So that's question 2. Question 2 is C. Now question 3. Are you there?
Yeah. It's a calculation.
Yeah, okay, calculation. Yeah, this one. Between 2020 and 2022, no, let me see. Between 2020 and 2022, Qatar's gross national income increase from 141 to this. Okay, which one of the following is the ratio of Carthagena in 2020? Okay. Okay. All right, you got it though. So it is done. Let's see it. So
We
we're gonna
forgot
have,
this yesterday.
yeah, I forgot it. I saw it now. So we're gonna have yeah, the ratio. So we're gonna have okay, that will be 229 229.01 minus 141.37 divided by 141.37. Okay, that's 0.62. So it's going to be 1 which is 0.62. So question 3 is A, right?
Yeah.
So go to question 4. For question 4, they said, hold on, okay. Okay, okay, good. Question 4. So for question 4, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. They said, which one of the following would cause a leftward shift in the country's short-run aggregate supply, SRS curve? You choose, I said, for a decrease in bank lending to consumer.
Yeah.
A decrease in bank lending to consumer, what does that mean? Will it bring about, I said, which one of the following will bring about a leftward shift, right?
Yeah.
A decrease in bank lending to consumers.
Yeah.
If there's a decrease in bank lending to consumers, what would that bring?
To bring, well, people would have less, I don't know how to say, but like people will have less money to spend, or so a decrease in like disposable income
Okay,
or available credit.
there's less credit.
Mhm.
So what shift will it bring?
A leftward shift
To what?
in the curve.
A leftward shift where?
Well, Mr.
A decrease in bank lending to consumer is a situation, yes or no?
Yes.
So what will it bring about in the graph? Is it going to be a leftward shift?
Mhm.
A decrease in bank lending means cash is not going to be available to consumers, right?
Yeah.
So will it bring about a rightward shift or a leftward shift?
Leftward shift.
Leftward shift to what?
From like SRS 1 to SRS.
Consumers.
For consumers, yes.
So consumers is for SRS.
Or sorry, that's the LRS.
No.
Well, I don't know how to.
Consumption is what?
Consumption is aggregate demand.
Huh. Consumption is aggregate demand. Consumption is a component of aggregate demand.
Yeah.
So if there's a decrease in bank lending to consumers,
Yeah.
it simply means what? The aggregate demand will shift leftward.
Yeah.
It means consumption would reduce, shifting the aggregate demand. I'm asking you here. This is short one. This is about firms.
Mhm.
But aggregate demand is for consumers because we have consumption there. So a decrease in bank lending to consumers will bring about a leftward shift to aggregate demand. That is why the answer is not A.
Okay, yeah, okay. I thought you were talking about my answer.
No, I'm asking you about the first option. You didn't choose the first option. Why didn't you choose the first option?
Because it will increase aggregate demand. Like what lending money will increase aggregate.
They said
Uh,
a reduction.
Reduction, yeah.
A decrease in bank lending to consumers. Will it increase aggregate demand or reduce
decrease aggregate demand?
So consumer option A is not right because option A talks about aggregate demand.
Yeah.
That is what I want to know. Option B, a decrease in the rate of indirect tax. If there's a decrease in the rate of indirect tax, what does it mean?
It will shift the SRS curve rightwards.
Rightward, because it means the cost of production for firms would fall. Good. Why did you choose C?
Because it's the only correct option.
An increase in the price of natural gas, right?
Yeah.
And that would increase the cost of production for those firms that uses natural gas, right?
Yeah.
So that will shift the supply curve leftward.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And why didn't you choose D?
Because aggregate demand will shift. The aggregate demand or the LRAS curve will shift to the right.
Well, an increase in investment in healthcare would not only shift AD, it will also shift the short-term aggregate supply. Why? Because increase in investment in healthcare means workers will be more healthy, and that increases their productivity. If productivity increases, output increases.
Yeah.
Is it clear now, please? So A is not there, B is not there, C is the answer, and D is not there. D will increase, will shift the AD and the SRAS curve rightward. B will shift the SRAS rightward. A will shift the AD curve leftward.
Yeah.
So the only option that will shift the LRAS curve to the left is an increase in the cost of production, which is C. Clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. For question 5, it said, in 2022, the Czech Republic economy was operating below its productive potential. As a result, a fall in its manufacturing production. Which one of the following is most likely to be associated with a negative output gap? Yes.
Well, first of all, an output gap is the difference between the real output and
The actual output and
the potential output.
great. Okay, that's output gap. Okay.
Okay, and when it's negative, it means that the real output is less than the
actual output. Don't use real. The actual.
Okay, the actual output is less than the
Potential.
output.
You know why you shouldn't use real? When you use real,
Means
real
adjusted to inflation.
inflation. So we don't. So the actual, right? Okay. Thank you for those information. So now they said, which one of the following is most likely to be associated with a negative output gap? An increase in house prices. An increase in house prices would mean that there is boom in the economy.
And that
would
house prices are likely to fall. And there's a
yes.
negative output.
So if this is a positive output gap, so it's not A. An increase in the rate of inflation.
Well, that means that, when there's a negative output, means that it's likely to fall.
Yes,
The
inflation rate. So a positive output gap might lead to inflation because there's going to be inflationary pressure because demand would increase, right?
Yeah.
An increase in business confidence, that would also bring about a positive output gap, not negative, right? So an increase in unemployment. So a negative output gap would mean that there's difference between, like we said earlier. So yes, it's unemployment, an increase in unemployment. Because with a negative output gap means there's unemployed resources, and that is unemployment. So the answer is D. Great. Question 5, that's D. So a negative output gap will bring about an increase in unemployment. A positive output gap will increase house prices because increase in house prices is the same as inflation. An increase in business confidence, it's a boom. So ABC will bring about a boom to the economy and it will increase aggregate demand, right? Question 6. They said the table shows Mexico's confidence index, CCI. The CCI is a measure of consumers' willingness to spend. That's your ability to spend, okay?
CCI stands for Consumer Confidence Index, right?
Yes. So it simply means the willingness of consumers to want to spend.
Yeah.
So that means your confidence, you are willing to.
Like how optimistic you are about the economy.
Yeah.
How you feel about the economy.
Yes, and you are just happy to spend it. So now they said, with reference to the table above, which one of the following is most likely to result from this change in consumer confidence between April 2021 and April 2023? In April 2021, the CCI was 101.5, but it increases to 103.4. So what would bring about such increase in confidence of consumers?
Well, first of all, it has to be a rise in the price level and the rise in real output.
Listen. A rise in the price level, if price level increases, consumers would not want to buy.
Yeah, but
get the point here. Hold on. When you look at price, price is linked mostly to consumers, and based on the law of demand. When price rises, consumers don't want to buy.
Yeah.
But what would have brought about an increase in price level an increase in price level that would have bring about an increase in consumers' confidence index. It would have meant that consumers are maybe confident that they are optimistic about the future. So an increase in price might not really affect them. They will still want to spend because they are optimistic about their income in the future. But here, let's look. They said if price level falls, output level falls. If both falls, it will not increase consumer confidence index.
Yeah.
Because if real output falls and price level falls, there's deflation within the economy.
So fall in consumer confidence.
Yes. Fall and rise. No. Rise and fall. No. It's rise and rise. So if consumer confidence has increased from has increased between 2021 to 2023, firms will also respond because consumers are willing to spend. This is the point. Consumers are willing to spend. Because consumers are willing to spend, firms will react as a result of that. And that is why the price level would rise. The question says, which one of the following is most likely to result from this change in consumer index? So there's a change from 101.5 to 103.4. So what I'm saying in essence is this. A change in consumer confidence from April 2021 to April 2023 means that consumers are willing to spend more. Because consumers are willing to spend more, firms will be, as a result of that, firms will react. So that is why an increase in consumer confidence will bring about an increase in the price level and an increase in the real output. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Okay. Just hold on, please. I want to repeat that once more. Okay. Consumer confidence index, CCI, it simply talks about an increase in the willingness of consumers to want to spend over time. Then, based on the table we have here, the CCI increased from 2021 from 101.5 in 2021 of April to 103.4 in April 2023. So there's an increase in the consumer confidence. Now, the question says, with reference to this table above, which one of the following is most likely to result from this change in consumer confidence between April 2021 and April 2023? There's an increase in consumer confidence. An increase in consumer confidence means consumers are willing to buy more. Because consumers are willing to buy more, it simply means that demand for goods and services would increase. And based on that fact, firms will react towards an increasing demand. And that will bring about an increase in the price level. So a rise in the price level will result from the willingness of consumers to want to spend more. And also, firms will have the incentive to produce more. Based on the law of supply, the higher the price, the higher the quantity supplied. So if the price level is rising over time, producers will be willing to produce more. So these two things are as a result of an increase in demand from consumers. So consumers' confidence has increased, which increases spending of consumers, and that will allow firms to react. So the implication of this, or the consequence of this, is that price level will increase because demand is increasing. Real output will increase because of the law of supply, which says the higher the price, the higher the quantity supplied. Firms will be making more profit, and the only way to make more profit is to increase their real output. I think it's clear.
Yeah.
Good. So that's about CCI, which is the willingness of consumers to want to spend, and the effect on price level and output. As soon as consumers' confidence index increases, real output is going to rise because supply is going to increase based on the fact that price level is going to increase. Thank you. So that is clear, right?
Yeah.
So we'll go to question 7, which are, okay, Canadian, okay. Okay. I said between quarter 2, 2022 and quarter 2, 2023, average house prices in Canada decreased by 8.5%. With reference to the information above, explain one likely macroeconomic impact of this decrease in house prices on existing homeowners. That's a negative wealth, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's say negative wealth effects. That's what it means, you know. For the homeowners, if the price of houses decreases, it reduces
their house's value.
Yeah, and that's a negative wealth effect. Wow, okay. So down there, please.
Because a house is an asset.
So a fall in the price of houses in Canada, a decrease in the price of houses. What effect does it have on existing homeowners? Existing homeowners, these are the people that have house, right?
Yeah.
They have houses now. Then as soon as a fall in Canadian house prices reduces household wealth. Why household or house owners' wealth? Household.
Well, a whole house is called a household. Like the people in the house are called the household, no?
Well, use homeowners here, please.
Okay.
Homeowners' wealth. Because when you say, now, put it this way, when you say a fall in Canadian house prices reduces household wealth. Now, household are consumers too. So, but if there's a fall in house prices, it increases households' disposable income.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
So talk about house owners because the case study is about house owners. So it reduces house owners or homeowners' wealth. Homeowners' wealth, okay? Lowering consumer confidence and spending, causing aggregate demand to decrease. This leads to reduce real output and price level. For example, average houses price fell from 8.5% in 2022. Okay. Explain one likely. You have talked about, just talk about one and develop the one. That is the point. You said a falling household reduces homeowners' wealth, lowering consumer confidence and spending. If wealth reduces, this might bring about, okay, yes, it's fine. Okay, yeah, it's fine. So a reduction in your wealth reduces your confidence level and spending. And spending is part of aggregate demand. That decreases aggregate demand within the economy. Okay? Okay? So it's fine. But you didn't tell me where it brings about a negative wealth effect. Because the point about everything we talked about here is about wealth. So is this a positive wealth or negative wealth effect?
It's a negative wealth
So
effect.
this causes a negative wealth effect. Yeah, I'm giving you a mark there. So go to question. So a fall in house prices for homeowners bring about a negative wealth effect. It reduces confidence level, reduces real output. That's fine. That's fine though. So go to question 8, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Coming there. Output gap. Okay, positive. So Croatia experienced a positive output gap in 2022. A positive output gap will increase the real output. Okay. So positive output gap is the difference between the actual output and the potential output, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the actual and the potential. Great. That's good. So go to question 9. Okay, let me just draw it out here anyway. So between the actual and the potential output. Where is my I will no way to draw here. Okay, it's here. I can't draw, so it's not coming up. Check. So go on. Question 9. Oh, they said the table shows selected macroeconomic data for an economy in 2023.
Yeah.
Calculate the value of consumption for this economy in 2023. Consumption is, okay, they give us aggregate demand.
No, like I put the
Yes, they give us aggregate demand.
yeah.
So
I put the aggregate demand formula and then I
AD is C plus I plus G plus X minus N. So you have, okay, so we need C, right? So minus C equals to all this. Okay. So say you calculate the value for consumption. Consumption is missing, but we have aggregate demand. Okay. So you make C the subject. Okay. So aggregate demand comes in here, minus everything here, okay? So it gives you 17.37 billion, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to work out here. I don't know why. They're giving me the, I don't know. Okay, let's see. 32.91 minus 4.57 minus 9.22 minus 7.64 plus 5.89. 17.37, yes. That's right. Okay, we go to question 10. Are you there? So for question 10, they said, in the USA, 11.2% of graduates were working in low-skilled jobs in June 2023. At the same time, 25.7 million people were working part-time. Many of these part-time employees wanted to work more hours. With reference to the information above, explain the term underemployment. And what is underemployment?
Underemployment is when people have a job or they are employed, but they want more hours or they want to move to a more skilled job.
That's underemployment.
Yeah.
The unemployment is, what brings about underemployment? What really brings about underemployment?
I think let's say like a lack of job vacancies.
Lack of job vacancies. That could bring about underemployment. What is underemployment?
It's when people have a job, but they still want a more skilled job, or they want more hours of work.
Hours of work. Yes. Okay. So one of the reasons why we would have underemployment is because there's unemployment, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to say in the USA, okay, unemployment. Let me read what you wrote anyway. Unemployment is when people have a job, but want to work, I guess, but want to work more hours or transfer in a more skilled job. Okay. So from the extract, 11.2% of graduates were working in low-skilled jobs, and 25.7 million people were working part-time. So example of an underemployed worker could be a part-time worker, or people that are, okay, yeah, you might be working in a low-skilled job that you are just doing that job based on the fact that there's no job available. Yeah. So that is underemployment. Okay, fine, we got that. The employment is done.
Mr.
Yes.
Deficit is debt, right?
Deficit. Deficit is always, deficit is not really a debt. Deficit simply, well, when you look at it in summary, a deficit is more like a debt because it simply means you're having a negative figure. So what happens?
I just have this question.
Okay. Deficit is the opposite of surplus.
Yeah.
It's just like when you have a budget, your revenue. If your revenue is less than your expenditure, that's a deficit. Is deficit clear, right? Is it clear, please?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Question 11. Are you there?
Yeah.
They said, with reference to the chart, explain one likely cause of a deficit in Colombia's balance of trade in goods and services. So when we have a balance of trade deficit, it simply means
that you
balance of trade deficit. But what is balance of trade?
it's the
Export and import.
yeah, well, I was trying to find a word. It's like the correlation between export and import.
Balance of trade is the difference between export and import.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a balance of trade deficit if import exceeds export.
Yeah.
That is balance of
So
trade
there's
deficit.
more withdrawal than injection.
Injection. Okay, that's a balance of trade deficit. Okay. Now they said here, Colombia's net balance of trade in goods and services are this. Okay. Explain one likely causes of a deficit in Colombia's balance of trade in goods and services. They said Colombia relatively high inflation makes exports more expensive, reducing foreign demand, while imports become relatively cheaper. This worsens the trade balance as shown by the persistent trade deficit from 2010 to 2011, peaking around 20 billion in 2014. So high inflation rates brings value of exports to become expensive and imports to become cheaper in relative to export. That what we're talking about, import becoming cheaper in relative to export, simply means the same quantity of goods that will be brought abroad is cheaper than the domestic made goods. That is what it means.
Yeah.
So, and that could bring about a balance of trade deficit.
Deficit.
But that's not the only reason why we could have a balance of trade deficit. What are other reasons why we could have an increase? What are other reasons why we could have an increase in import? Because that's what it means. Import exceeding export. That is balance of trade deficit. So what other reasons would bring about an increase in import than export?
Well, for example, a fall in price of a
Don't talk about price anymore because you talked about inflation already.
I don't know.
Exchange rate. What about exchange rate? Is exchange rate not part of trade?
It is.
Because when we talk about balance of trade, we're talking about international trade. So exchange rate it's one of the components or one of the variables that can be used. So what happens? What change will bring about? What change in the exchange rates will bring about importing more, exceeding exporting, or balance of trade deficit?
Well, a weaker currency.
A weak currency.
Stronger currency.
Stronger currency. A weak currency makes your exports become cheaper, and that makes you internationally competitive. But a stronger exchange rate means imports become cheaper in relative to export. So a strong exchange rate might bring about balance of trade deficit. High inflation rate can also bring about a balance of trade deficit. Any question about that? Good. That's question 11, right? Yeah. So go to question 12. It said, define the term living standards. So living standards is the subjective happiness. This includes health, education, comfort, etc. Living standards. Okay, that means how quality your life quality. Yeah, your life quality.
Or you could also say the quantity of materials and goods available in an economy or for the population.
The kind of materials you have access to. Okay, the quality of life you have access to. So that's living standards. Okay, your ability to obtain materials. Okay, good. So go to question B. With reference to figure 2, explain the difference between disinflation and inflation. Figure 2, we'll go down to figure 2. Okay, let me just check. The figure. Don't worry, I have it here. Figure 2, figure 2. Figure 1, okay. Figure 2, okay. I said figure 2, annual rate of inflation as measured by the CPI, January 2021 to January 2023. So this is the year-on-year inflation rate calculated monthly. So the difference between disinflation, okay, disinflation is when the inflation rate falls but remain positive, a positive inflation rate. Okay, while inflation is the sustained rise in the average price level. Good. Then what is deflation?
Deflation is recession. So
deflation is recession.
Oh, sorry. It's when the inflation is at a negative
It's negative. Simple as that, man. Okay. In Brazil, disinflation occurred in July to December 2020. So July to December July to December 2022. Okay. Disinflation, okay. While inflation persisted throughout January 2021 to January 2023. A persistent rise in the price level. Okay. Okay, good. We'll go to question. Getting all maths today, man. What happens?
Yesterday I studied your paper.
I see. Okay. Now go to question C. They said, with reference to figure 2, okay, we need figure 2 here, okay? With reference to figure 2 and extract A, examine two ways in which increase in the base interest rate could reduce the rate of inflation. The real GDP growth. We have a negative GDP growth in 2020. Okay. And okay. High interest rates reduce consumption as savings become more attractive and investment falls due to high borrowing cost. An increase in the base rate of interest will increase. What is interest rate?
It's the cost of borrowing money.
Is that all?
Well,
You are one-sided.
how so? Because that's interest rate is, well, I can explain it in a less in a more simple mind way, because interest rate is the amount, like the cost that the bank asks you after you borrow money.
Because the bank asks you. Oh, sorry. I'm getting it. Yeah, sorry. Okay, wait. Oh, I don't want to cancel this. Okay. Interest rate. It's still one-sided. The answer not is not
What's the
supposed to
other
be.
side though?
What?
I don't get you. Like,
There's always another side. Trust me. What was interest rate? The answer is one-sided. You said interest rate is what?
the cost of borrowing money.
The cost of borrowing. That is interest rate. Okay. So the interest rate is based on borrowers. So what happens to savers?
Lenders, okay, savers.
So tell me, interest rate is the cost of money. So that means you are not one-sided, because saying interest rate is the cost of borrowing, it simply means everything about interest rate is
borrowers.
For borrowers. No,
It's the cost of money.
it's the cost of money, because interest rate affects both savers and borrowers. A high interest rate has an impact on borrowers. A high interest rate has an impact on savers. So whatever interest rate it is, a rise in interest rate increases the cost of borrowing and increases the benefit of saving. So that's what interest rate is about. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So said high interest rate reduces consumption as high interest rate doesn't start from consumption now. Interest rates. High interest rates makes borrowing to become expensive. If borrowing becomes expensive, it affects both individuals. It affects economic agents, individuals, firms. So interest rate reduces consumption as savings become more attractive and investment falls due to higher borrowing cost. I don't like how you started it this way. High interest rates, it has to be interesting to read, you know. High interest rates reduce consumption. It doesn't start from here. Interest rates is the cost of money, and that means the cost of borrowing and the benefit of saving. Now take it one at a time. So borrowers. Firms, there are some firms that rely mostly on borrowing for investment. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay. You talk about them. You talk about households that rely on borrowing for probably child's education and maybe some assets like housing, like motor vehicle. Consumption, yes, I know it's consumption. Talk about it one at a time. You know, if you do that, you give more points to the examiner to mark. But you have already rounded up by saying high interest rates reduce consumption as savings become more attractive and investment fall due to higher borrowing costs. Look at how you round it up here. Points that are supposed to come differently. You have put consumption and investment together. Investment separately. Talk about firms investment. Consumption separately. Talk about consumers separately. Because they are not the same. But you rounded it up here. That reduces the mark. So that's the point there. In Brazil, the base rate of interest, rose sharply from 22% in January 2021. Okay. We go to, let me see. Extract A. Okay. 30.25%. So exchange rate, okay. Extract A. Okay. In Brazil, the base rate of interest, rose sharply from 2% to 30.25%. Covering spending and investments. Inflation rose from 4.5 to 12% before falling to 5.9, the largest, okay? These are the analysis here. The huge, but time lags, fixed contracts or banks not fully passing on rates may limit its impact, reducing monetary policy effectiveness. Is that all? Well done. High interest rate reduces consumption, savings become more attractive, investment falls due to higher borrowing costs. Okay? In Brazil, the base rate of sharply moved from this, and these are just the analysis written here, you're putting back them here. Okay? Fair, but time lags, fixed contracts, or banks are not fully passing on notes may limit its impact, reducing monetary policy effectiveness. Yeah, we move on. Oh, the mark is too much for you, right?
Huh?
It's too much now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We go to question D, right?
Yeah.
It said, with reference to extract A, examine the impact of deflationary fiscal policy on Brazil's circular flow of income. The circular flow of income shows how money moves between household, firms, and government. Okay. Okay, that's the circular flow. Okay. So circular flow talks about injection and withdrawals, right? Okay. So deflationary fiscal policy that reduces government expenditure. What's fiscal policy?
Stated indeed. No, you mean what does it mean?
Yeah, fiscal policy.
It's the policies involved by the government during a fiscal year.
What is fiscal policy?
What do you mean? Like,
what's fiscal policy? Is a policy.
Yeah.
Like monetary policy.
Monetary policy.
Yeah. So what do you understand by fiscal policy?
Fiscal policy is the I don't know how to formulate it.
Fiscal policy is an instrument. It's a policy.
It's a policy.
That is it's a policy that it's government policy which talks about taxation and spending, subsidy for government to use in achieving its macroeconomic objective. So fiscal policy is the use of taxation, subsidy, and government borrowing to achieve macroeconomic objective. That is fiscal policy. So when there is deflationary fiscal policy, it means government wants to cut off its spending. Deflationary. Are you here with me?
Yeah.
Great. So that's what fiscal policy is. They might ask you what fiscal policy, they might ask.
Well,
They might
I
ask for the
could say-
definition of fiscal policy. They might ask.
I could say it's the
What I'm saying is,
okay, yeah. Well, let me like formulate the
okay,
answer so you can be more convinced.
okay.
Fiscal policy is the spending and taxation imposed by the government to influence the economy.
To achieve macroeconomic objective. But you said impose. Tax are imposed, not subsidy. Subsidy is friendly.
Given, yeah.
So just say fiscal policy is the use of taxation, government spending, and government borrowing
Okay.
to achieve macroeconomic objective. That's fiscal policy. Clear, right? Okay. So reduced government expenditure lowers injection, while higher taxes increase withdrawals, reducing overall economic activity. In Brazil, tax revenues goes by, okay. Question 12D, right?
Yeah.
Go back to the question, please. Okay. Okay. So deflationary brings about withdrawals to the economy. In Brazil, the revenue goes by this, while government spending fell by this, both contributing to weaker growth through reduced demand in the economy. Reduced income. Reduced government expenditure lowers injection, while higher taxes increase withdrawals, reducing overall economic activity. In Brazil, tax revenues goes by this, while government spending.
That's my analysis.
No, it's here. What's your analysis? The analysis you're saying that is here.
No, but I wrote my conclusion.
Yeah, let me see your conclusion. Both contributing to weaker growth through reduced demand in the economy. Okay. 1 point. E. Are you there?
What?
Are you there?
Yeah.
12E. Okay. Love it. E, right? With reference to the information, sorry, please. With reference to the information provided, discuss the likely effects on living standards of the supply side policies proposed by President Lula. Okay.
So, first of all, I'd like to say that supply side policies are the measures taken by the government to increase the productive capacity of the economy.
Thank you. That's a supply side policy to increase output within the economy. Thank you. I like that. So, you said President Lula's 2022 pledge to raise real incomes and create jobs can be pursued through supply side policies, investment in healthcare. So now, investment in healthcare reduces workers' absence, improves productivity, and raises employability, leading to higher wages. Now, investment in healthcare, that gives, workers become more healthier. There's no absenteeism, productivity will rise, employability will increase, leading to higher wages and, okay. Infrastructure projects, such as roads and broad.
Where is it? Broadband.
Broadband, okay. Generate jobs, reduce business costs, and improve mobility, increasing incomes and living standards. That was the second point, right? Okay. Investment in healthcare, which is a supply side policy, right? That's what you said here. Infrastructure, okay. That reduces the cost for firms. Education and training is another supply side policy. Improve human capital, making workers more flexible, is that? Productive and employable. However, effectiveness depends on the scale and the quality of spending, and that may be not sufficient. Large-scale projects risk inefficiency or waste, while welfare payments could reduce. Now, we said large-scale projects risk inefficiency or waste. Why?
Well, like we said the last time, for example, when they start a project, they sometimes they start well and then they
Time lag.
time
That
lag.
is time lag.
Yeah.
No, this is not time lag. He said large scale projects risk inefficiency or waste.
Mhm.
That's not time lag. You wrote time lag. I saw time lag here.
Yeah, I wrote time.
So inefficiency and waste. What makes you to think government might be inefficient or be wasteful?
Well, a government could be inefficient or wasteful because of the like government failure, which is caused by misallocation of resources, or for example, what can I say? Excessive government spending,
No.
administrative costs.
No. You can talk about government being inefficient here because government agents are not economists or they are not technocrats. So they might not know the extent to which to spend or not to spend. So that's how you would talk about government being inefficient. And remember that when we talk about the public sector, one of the reasons why we always clamor for private sector or privatization is that there's always inefficiency in the public sector. So government decision making here, the government might make a wrong decision because they rely on information from government agents. So those agents might have given them a wrong information, and President Lula would not know that. That is why there could be inefficiency. Do you get the point I'm making here, please?
Yeah.
And that makes you to write it better than this in the next time. So while welfare payment could reduce work incentive, yes, welfare payments could reduce work incentive. Yeah, people might not want to work if welfare payment greater than the average wage. That's how it works. Welfare payment greater than the average wage might discourage people to work.
Yeah.
Not just welfare payment. You could be paid. There could be welfare payment that is below the average wage.
Yeah.
So would that make you to stop working?
No.
So, but you did not expatiate further here. So welfare payment could reduce work incentive. Welfare payment above average wage, yes. Budget deficit since 2022 raised financing concerns, while supply side policies face long-term lags before benefit materials, okay? Before benefits materialize.
Yeah.
Opportunity costs also exist as funds may be misallocated. Overall success requires a combination of policies, careful implementation, and fiscal sustainability. Yes, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can give you 4 more. No, let me just give you a try there. So go to question. You did 14 or 13?
13.
13. You like 13, huh? So we see what's in 13. Okay. India's employment rate increased from 7.1% in January 2023 to 8.5% in January 2023. That was 1.4% increase, right?
Yeah.
1.4. Now, they said, evaluate the likely effect of an increase in the unemployment rate on workers and the public finance. Okay, Indian unemployment rose from 7.1 to okay. Rising unemployment lowers disposable incomes, reducing consumption, which is a key component of aggregate demand. A fall in aggregate demand shift the curve leftward, decreasing the real output and lowering the growth rate. Excuse me. Okay. Understand public. So a fall in aggregate demand shifts the left. Okay, a fall in AD shifts the curve leftward, decreasing the real output and slowing growth. This can trigger a negative multiplier effect as weaker demand reduces businesses' revenues, leading to further job losses. Okay. Yeah, still talking about aggregate demand here.
Yeah.
Okay. Workers face lower living standards.
It's a new extract.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're talking about unemployment rate, right? Okay. Workers face lower living standards, poverty, and less of confidence. Long-term unemployment erodes skills, increasing structural unemployment. For government finances, unemployment rate, okay. For government finances, unemployment raises welfare spending, okay, while reducing tax revenue such as income tax and VAT. This widens the fiscal deficit and may force borrowing, creating an opportunity cost for spending on. You have more code here. Now let's talk about government spending based on increasing unemployment. It affects the public finance, okay? So for government finances, unemployment raises welfare spending while reducing tax revenue such as income tax and VAT. Government is not reducing tax revenue.
Well, when there's a
Hold on, please. Based on what you wrote, you said for government finances, unemployment raises welfare spending. This is initiated by government while reducing tax revenue such as income tax and VAT. No. Based on the fact that there's unemployment, tax revenue
reduces.
Tax revenue through income and profit would reduce. But what you wrote here is like government is reducing taxes too. Government might not want to reduce tax. But definitely, based on how things are, revenue is falling. Firms will not be selling as they used to sell. So government revenue through taxes like income tax or profit tax, corporation tax, might also reduce. So government will be spending more and getting less. I believe that's what you meant here anyway. Yeah. Is that what you meant? Okay. Why reducing tax revenue such as income tax? When you said why reducing, like government is reducing it. No, the situation reduces it. Why reducing tax revenue such as income tax and VAT? This widens the fiscal deficit and may force borrowing, creating an opportunity cost for spending on healthcare or infrastructure. Yes, it's going to create opportunity cost anyway. Because if government is not spending more, if there's a fiscal deficit, it means government might not be able to spend on other strategic area of the economy. You got the point there? So the severity depends on scale. An increase to 8.5% is damaging, but less extreme than double digit unemployment elsewhere. Okay, you are comparing to other countries now, right? Okay. Time lag matters. Supply side measures like education or infrastructure take years to improve employability. Poorly targeted spending may also be ineffective. Poorly targeted spending may also be ineffective, as seen in past large-scale projects that wasted resources. However, India's large informal sector may soften burdens compared to advanced economies. So, the informal sector of India, tell me about it.
Well, India has a lot of parallel market
that bypass
government regulations.
Okay.
So by that I mean that, well, when there's a high informal market, there is less monetization, so less tax revenue, or the government cannot collect accurate data.
Okay, so in a nutshell, you've talked about, so what happens with government public finance?
Well,
at the end of it all,
overall,
what happens to government finance?
Well, by government finance, you mean how much they will And
Government finance is about government revenue, and
yeah,
government expenditure, right?
yeah.
So what do you think would happen with this situation?
Well, with this situation, the public finances will
We'll run into what?
they will reduce.
Run into negative or positive? That's
No,
what.
run into negative, obviously.
Okay, so government public finance is definitely going to be worsened, right?
Mhm.
Okay, that's all right.
Mhm.
Mhm. 12, 14, 15. So that ends paper 2, October 2024, right?
Mhm.
Great. Okay.